And this is yours.
Thank you.
Hi, Toledo. Welcome.
Hi. Thank you so much.
How has it been so far?
Quite good. Quite
So
good.
we already have invitation to Costa Rica and Brazil. Where are you inviting us? Because this became the standard.
Of course, you're welcome in Mexico, but if you want, Cancun could be a good destination.
Okay, we're in. We're in.
Yeah.
We're in.
And of course, in Ecuador, we have a lot of things to do. Galapagos, for example, is a good island. We have also a very good diversity nature.
So I'm in next year. I don't know about you guys, but okay, good. Let's go to the solution that you're here to introduce. Tell me a little bit about the solution from Ecuador.
For sure. Thanks so much. Well, as you said, I'm in Mexico. I come from Mexico. I'm Moises Toledo, head of sales of Veridos Mexico. Veridos is a company world leading in identity solutions to our customers. We are providing innovative, as you have in the name of the company, in Innovatrics, and also advanced solutions for the governments. Today I will talk about the Ecuador case study, which is a project that we won with Certosen, our partners in the region, that I have to say that we have been working hard on the region and winning some projects that are very, very good symbols in America. Of course, we were working with Innovatrics, our strategy provider and partner, I have to say, because working with Innovatrics, we have won several contracts with the help of Oscar, Alejandro, and Geraldo. We have been implementing some contracts on the region. So, well, this is a tender that we were awarded on 2019. We were competing to other vendors. In the case of the AV system, we were competing against Dermalog, companies as Milbauer, companies as IDEMIA and Thales, and finally we were awarded with the contract for the implementation of the old enrollment and issuance for the National Electronic ID and Electronic Passport there in Ecuador. And so it's a very large project which involved the implementation of many issuance agencies within Ecuador and other agencies for the issuance of the electronic passport in Ecuador and in some consulates in New York and Madrid. Of course, the contract involves to replace the NAV system that the customer used to have, which is coming from Cogent, now Thales. So, well, there the customer has a high problem with the AVs because the provider at the time has a very high cost on the implementation and very high cost on the upgrade and the maintenance and support for them. So whereas we found as Innovatrics as our very, very strategic partner in order to get the robust solution and cost-efficient solution also. So in 2019 we were awarded with this project. So we had the honor to replace one competitor AVs to Innovatrics AVs. And it's important to notice also that this implementation was run during the pandemic, almost 3 months after we start to run the project of the implementation. The pandemic was declared worldwide, so it was a big challenge on the implementation.
It was a special project for you, I'm sure.
Yes, for sure. Well, maybe I will not talk about it very, very technical, but of course we implemented the AV system that also Matus has already told us, the AV system for the comparing to one-to-N and one-to-one comparisons. We implemented a web service where the government is validating all the identity of the people that is coming to get a national ID, or also with a passport. And of course, some components that were in the stations, because to make the enrollment of the people, we have to validate, accomplishing all the ICAO standards regarding the face, the dimensions, and the positions of the eyes or of the mouth. So we are using some of the components that the Innovatrics provide to the stations, not within the central database, but also for the components that are in large scale deployed. One important thing here is that now we are running about 2,500, processing 2,500 national IDs in a month, and 60,000 passports in a month. Of course, all deployed within all the Ecuador territory. right? Well, some challenges in this project, as I said. First of all, due to the lack of the delays on the providing the computers, the servers, and some other hardwares and chips, and as you may know, the chips is now in mouth of every people. We have to run the migration and the duplication in record times, I have to say. For example, we made the migration in almost 2 weeks, which was really, really challenging because we have to migrate 14 million records, biometric records, including face and 10 fingerprints for each record. And we made the duplication, the full duplication, which means each record has to be compared with all the records in the database within 38 days, more or less. So we have to run this process, of course, with the support from Innovatrics. There, Haroldo, I don't know if he's here, but Haroldo and all the team, Alejandro, Oscar, were very, very supportive with us. And of course, monitoring all the processes is doing well. And we put a lot of servers doing that hard work at the time.
So it sounds like a hard but a very fast project. No?
Yes, yes. Yes, actually, I have to say that the project was planned to run in 1 year, but of course take more than that, no? Because of the lag and the delays on the deliveries. And of course on the lockdowns, because the lockdowns didn't make the work very easy. We had to work in a hybrid mode, working locally with the people which is in Ecuador, but also having the remote services coming from the team from Innovatrics, also doing the monitoring. So we had to, to work very, very communicated with the team, remote and we locally to assure that the process will be done in a correct way. No? So it was very challenging, of course. All the lockdowns, as I told you, didn't permit to go to Ecuador to make some configurations, so we have to do it by our own, but of course with the advisor of Innovatrics. And of course it has not, well, the pandemic has not just bad things, but also some opportunities. There's where we found, for example, the opportunities to sell the digital signature implementation on the electronic ID card in Ecuador. So all citizens in Ecuador has their private key, which means the digital signature in their card, so they can make a digital signature with the national ID, electronic ID.
So you said that wasn't originally part of the scope, but then it became the spin-off from
exactly.
the original project.
It became later on because the government saw as an advantage that we were implementing the new national ID, so they had to or wanted to increase the scope to the digital signature and also for the digital identity, which also is something that maybe the pandemic shows to us and the governments and the citizens that we can do a lot of things in remote way, but in a secure way, and is where the biometrics help us to assure the processes and the security on the transactions that we do. No?
Yeah, those things look like nice to have before, but then the pandemic strike and suddenly they're a necessity, right? Because you can't carry on physical services.
Right now is not. It's become a commodity, no?
Yeah.
To others, to all the citizens and to all the governments to provide that kind of services. Actually, going a little bit to the landscape in the biometric, the government is planning now to deploy all the authentication services through a portal that they have, which is GovBC, which GovBC is a portal from the government where they provide to the citizens some services. The services that they used to do in a presence mode, now they are doing in remote way. So they have a lot of processes there, so they are liking to introduce the digital identity on it. No, but also we are looking to give other kind of services. For example, subsidy system is a project that we are trying to push in there with Certocent, with Jose Lizac and Veridos, in order they can provide benefits to the citizens, and they make sure that the citizens that is receiving the benefit is actually the people that needs the benefit, no? Because right now, sometimes they don't have any control on the subsidies. They are providing the subsidies for all the citizens. For example, the gasoline, they are providing this benefit, no discriminating or not splitting who is needing or who not. But now with the biometric identity, they can do that segmentation and just provide the benefit to the people who needs the benefit. And of course, we are pushing also for border control system, which is one of our main projects that we're running in Veridos. And of course, the biometrics in that component means, a lot of validations that we have done on that processes. The technical part, it's okay.
Okay, good. So I was interested in the spin-off that you talked about because it sounded like it came out pretty easily, like to think of the next application. Once the core is good, then doing new applications is pretty easy. Was that the experience you had with this project?
Yes, correctly. Actually, they were used to provide some biometric services to some entities in Ecuador. For example, they are validating with the police some biometric registries like photographs and fingerprints. And for they were used to do it, but in a, let's say, in a slow mode, or not with all the assurance of the identities are well done because, this is maybe motivated because the previous provider, the previous vendor, which is Thales, they were not doing the maintenance correctly. They are not doing the duplication correctly. The government was kind of tired to ask the other provider to get the services correctly and in a cost-effective. I have to say that because sometimes some providers in the region, as IDEMIA or some of them, they are used to maybe enter to an account and then start to rise the prices more and more.
You're dependent,
more expensive,
of course.
And now the customer is like quite obligated to do the renewals, but it's something that is not working for the customer, and at the end it ends in changing the provider in that case. No?
Yeah. So the way you're speaking, it sounds like rollout and getting things off the ground is one thing, but then the maintenance comes, and if you don't do the maintenance well, then it kind of de-verifies all of the thing and all of the work that you've done before, right? So how tough is it for you to the maintenance now of the systems that are already in place?
Well, I have to say that now we are running with Certos in a lot of projects, so we have gained some independency on providing some services. We have some engineers there in Veridos, Mexico, and we can now be very independent to maybe doing some monitoring, maintenance. We are planning also to upgrade to the new version of the system that already Matus has talked about. And I think that the very, very most important doing with the partners is they have the knowledge, because it's a way they can move faster, and of course doing the things how to say it in efficient way, no? Because sometimes some providers about other technologies, they don't are used to let the partner to have the knowledge or have all the practice on the products. So it's very hard because of course we have to say. Right now, with some providers from other technologies, we have difference in the idiom and in the language, differences in the schedule times. So sometimes it's better to have the knowledge, it's better to have the training correctly in order to provide the services very fast to the customer, and of course going to the manufacturers, or in this case to Innovatrics when the case it's something that we cannot handle. No?
Yeah, it sounds like you find out the quality of your partnership once you hit a problem, once you hit the wall. That's when you really see how good your partner is. But you can hardly, hit a worse wall than a global pandemic. So that must have been quite a challenge for the project. But you said that went very smooth, despite the fact that nobody could travel in. It was hard to do things physically. But your project was dependent on physical rollout of stations all over Ecuador. So how did that go?
Yeah, well, first of all, it was hard. It was hard because of the lockdown. No, in Ecuador there was maybe 3 weeks, maybe 1 month, where the people cannot be in the streets. All the military or police officers were in the street catching the people that were walking, and they have to have a permit to do that. So our team has to have a permit signed by the government in order they can justify why they are on the street. Not doing anything, but just in the street. If you were walking in the street, you were just caught and go to the jail because you are not accomplishing the lockdown. So it was
perfect environment for a big project, though. It must
yes,
have been
exactly. Great. Correct. And of course, all the delays were caused not just because of the chips, the lack of the chips, but also because all the customs and the freight forwarders were not doing the same activity as in the past. So it were closed like in the 20% or less than that. So it was really, really challenging. But as I told you, to do it remotely, it was a really, really experience. Not with the government. Of course, the government has some restrictions. No, how is possible that someone which is in Brazil or in Slovakia can connect directly to the database of the customer in Ecuador? Is something that the customers were not really happy to hear, no. But at the end, they had to be open to do that, because otherwise it could be last a lot of time.
We talked a little bit about the spin-offs, so I go along the way of that Slido question. Once you have the biometric database in place, how difficult and costly is it to connect with, for example, banks or other third parties for remote verification? So how hard, if you already have that in place, how hard it is for me as a bank, for example, to connect to what you already have?
Well, there are 2 dimensions that we have to handle in that case, because one of them is how to the dimension of the database as well, because as it is, because the transactions that you have to support for sure will be increasing once you are adding some services to the database. So the first thing that you have to make an estimation is on one, how much hardware we will need to have
with the traffic.
in order to provide all the services to all the citizens. And the second one is where they are doing the verification, because there are some cases, for example, in our case, as we are providing some identity, for example, enrollment, is not that you can just take a selfie or take a photo and it will just work on the ABs. You need to have the assurance of the quality of the photograph, and the parameters of the photographs are accomplishing all the ICAO regulations. But for example, when you are providing it, because of course they are also wanting to give the service to the banks, and in that case, providing that service, maybe they are not very aware on the ICAO accomplishing, but maybe they have to know that as good as the photograph is, as rapid would be the answer, or saying the certainty of the answer.
Yeah. Toledo, it was so good to talk to you. Thank you so much for coming and showing your case.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thanks.
Thank you, everyone.